That's right, Daddy. The American Dream, robnoerr here. Normal America Show. I can't do any accents. So bad an impression. Welcome to Normal America Show. We got a brief one for you today to kind of explain what's going on here later. I'm going to be doing my normal Friday 11 a.m. Eastern Spaces with John Burk. Today we're going to be talking about the subpoenas that the Biden family is getting. So that's James Biden, Hunter Biden, and then Sarah Biden and a bunch of other people in the family are going to apparently also be asked to come testify. So we're going to be talking about that. The reason that I'm doing this stream right now, though, is because I actually get called into work. I'm going to be on the road driving while that Spaces is going on. Because of such, I obviously won't be able to restream it to any platform other than Twitter itself. Now, John's going to be hosting the space, John Burk. He hasn't put up the link to that yet, but what you could do is, I'll again put my link to my Twitter there. I'll stay with you for about 15, 20 minutes here. I will talk about some things and then try to let everyone know. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll be able to see when I join the spaces as a co-host, and you could just join from there. Really would appreciate if we get some people on that spaces today, hopefully participating as well, because believe it or not, as verbose as I am, I'll probably have less to say, even though this is the topic that I picked, because I'll be driving. So it'll be harder to kind of get my thoughts together probably. But that's where we're at. I hope everyone's having a good day. I woke up today. We got my son Hank these, like, you get him toys and like all sorts of stuff. He's got like a tablet. He's got this thing called a Tony that's really cool. And a lot of this stuff costs a lot of money. We spent $10 on, I think it's like 80 little miniature plastic dinosaurs. He absolutely loves them. He's learned the names of like every type of dinosaur. And so that's what he was doing this morning here. We were playing with those. And it's funny too, because like some of the dinosaurs, I'm not an idiot. So I know what a Tyrannosaurus Rex is, or a Triceratops, or a Velociraptor. And he's got all those. But then, right, like there's like I'll pull one out. I'm like, oh, that's a Spinosaurus. And he's like, no, Dimetrodon. I'm like, what? What the heck is a Dimetrodon? And then sure enough, I look it up and he's right. So it's pretty interesting. Does he like climbing trees? I don't know that he's old enough to try that yet. So we have some trees in the yard that he likes messing with, but there's no branches even near where he would be able to reach to be able to climb them. He loves climbing on his jungle gym and stuff like that, though, and he like super loves like climbing on the furniture up the back of it and stuff. Where you know, am I going to climb with him? Yeah, as you can tell, I'm an avid climber myself. We'll be hitting the rock wall here this weekend, so you know, this guy Ogre trying to convince me the other day. I was working out at like 2 a.m. Please. I could eat the tree. I'm more of a carnivore. What's worth talking about here today? I don't even know. Anything? What do people want to talk about for a few minutes here before I go? How about that story of the guy shooting the climate change protesters? Like, I hate to... That's funny. I hate to be this guy, but yeah, it's. I don't support that guy shooting those people blocking the road. I also find the people blocking the road to be ridiculous and out of hand, and there should be consequences for them. I don't think just straight up getting out of your car and shooting them is the answer, though. But that stuff's inevitable. When you allow lawlessness to continue to this level, and it's a worldwide phenomenon, but it's particularly true here in the United States. I believe that occurred in Panama, though. But it's the left is not held accountable anymore. They could do what they want. They could riot day after day after day after day, and hardly any charges are brought. If the right decides that they're going to have a riot, largest task force in FBI history for just one of them. It's just where we're at. They could block the streets. The cops will protect them. You see in London, for example, you know, pro-Palestinian protesters could yell, kill the Jews and whatever. But if you wave an Israeli flag, the police will stop you. It doesn't matter which side of that conflict you're on. Just know that if you're on the more oppressed side, you can get away with whatever. And It's the same I said with the riots that was occurring with George Floyd. It's the same with all this blocking the road stuff. If law enforcement allows it to go long enough, people will inevitably get fed up and take matters into their own hands. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a world where it's like, okay, I'm tired of riots occurring in my town from left-wingers. I'm going to arm myself and prevent them from coming into my area. I don't want to see that. And I talked about that well before Kyle Rittenhouse, and then Rittenhouse occurred. And then, of course, the left said, no, Rittenhouse isn't allowed to defend property, and he wasn't allowed to be there, and blah, 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 blah. They don't want police to defend you. They don't want you to be able to defend yourself. They want their violent left-wing mobs to have total control. That's what they want. This situation isn't completely analogous. Blocking a street's not as bad as rioting, but it's annoying, and it could severely cost people, whether it be trying to get to a medical emergency, trying to get to work and losing their job, just the inconvenience of it. I mean, you could see people with just road rage in the first place, right? If it has nothing to do with people blocking a road, just people road rage driving down the highway. What do you think happens if you block people for hours at a time by blocking a road? Over and 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 over again. People are going to take matters into their hand. Doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean this guy was right. But it's entirely predictable. Absolutely predictable. So I'm not going to sit here and say that this guy's Kyle Rittenhouse. Or, there's another case like that guy that put the guy in the subway in a chokehold and he died. Remember that guy's being charged? Now there's a case where it looked like a vagrant was mugging a woman and this 40-year-old man told him to stop and pulled a gun and shot him. Now that dude's in jail. That's different. That stuff, trying to defend innocent members of the public, that's one thing. Shooting someone blocking a road. But it's in the same vein that all of it is lawless behavior that is sanctioned by law enforcement, allowing the left to get away with stuff, and eventually people will take things into their own hands. Sometimes they'll take things into their own hands in justified ways. Sometimes they'll take it in unjustified ways. But the best way to avoid this is to enforce the laws that are on the book and stop giving special privileges to a certain class of political people because you think that they're morally right and you're afraid of being called bigoted, racist, a climate change denier, whatever. So there was that story. Any other stories anyone wants to talk about here briefly? I'll probably stick around to 10:15. Like I said, again, the point of this show today is normally 11 a.m. Eastern time on Thursdays, Fridays. I do a Twitter Spaces with John Burk, and then I broadcast it to all these channels. Unfortunately, I have to leave here at right at 10:45. So the Spaces today, I'm still going to be doing it, but it'll be through mobile, and that means you'll only be able to find it on my Twitter. Pretty sure the left right now are being ostracized for support of Palestinians. How's that working in London? Tell me that, Sean. I could show you video after video of the police intervening to stop pro-Israel protesters as they allow pro-Palestinian. I could show you the police tearing down Israeli flyers, arresting people that are trying to put those up. How's that working for the left? Show me law enforcement here in the United States, for example, cracking down on pro-Palestinian protesters. Go ahead. What's up, Ninja Gundam? No, what do you mean it's on both sides? No. You haven't provided any evidence that it's occurring on your side. None. Go ahead, show me. Let's see it. I love it. Here we go. Another. Both sides. Go ahead, show me any evidence. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Go ahead, show me. Where's the evidence of pro-Palestinian protesters and police going in and harassing them and stuff like you would see if you were, say, I don't know, an anti-lockdown protester, how they were treated? Look in Europe, buddy. People being banned from protesting. Could be true in certain countries, absolutely. The countries I was specifically talking about were countries like the United States, the UK. I don't see it there. And the only reason that Palestinian protesters would be targeted isn't because it's a left-wing cause. It's because anti-Semitism, which is another left-wing bullshit. All right. Sean, would you like to call in and discuss this? So the argument that he's going to make here is that law enforcement equally allows right-wing protesters and stuff to get away with stuff as they have left. So when we saw the riots and things like that occurred in the United States that law enforcement basically let go, when we see the blocking of streets and stuff like that, like the right wing gets away with that just as much. That's his argument. There is no high horse that is, you're at work, off to eat. Well, I'll tell you what, you could stay off to eat at work because you're now off the channel. If you're going to make stupid ass comments like this that you're unable to back up, then we'll just remove you from the channel because we don't want you to be victim of someone who's on their non-high horse anymore. So, we'll see you. Bye. Both sides do it. Right now, we have tanks hunting down January 6th protesters. See any of that for the left-wing rioters that ride? Any May 30th, 31st, when Democrats attack the White House with Molotov cocktails? You see tanks looking to throw them? What's up, old gamer? Just more... And again, let me be clear. I do not support silencing people that are pro-Palestinian protesters. I do not. But understand, the attempts at silencing them aren't some right-wing, this is because, and even the terms right and left are a little erroneous in this. The reason that is given for silencing the pro-Palestinian protesters in the small areas that it's occurring is because Jews are considered an oppressed class. And so you can't target them. Palestinians are considered a protected class, so you can't target them. It's all the same cultural Marxist bullshit. So what happens when those two combine? Then what? When they're clashing? Yeah, you're going to have some groups that say, oh, no. This is, Jews are the victims, you can't criticize them. You're going to have groups that say, Palestinians are the victims, you can't criticize them. How about Christians? You can say whatever you want. White people, say whatever you want. Conservatives, say whatever you want. Men, say whatever you want. Jewish people, well... Some say, yes, they fit right in there with them. They're oppressors like white Christian men, okay? Some say, no, they're victims. You can't criticize them. Now, I didn't see the Destiny AJW debate yet, but I like AJW, and it's something that I would be interested in looking at, for sure. One thing that's worth talking about is our good friend of the channel, Pisco. It's worth talking about this. Pisco's been having a rough couple days because if you go back and you remember the history, when Pisco came on my channel and got made a fool of for defending Jamaal Bowman as, it's more likely he pulled the fire alarm to unlock a door. I told everyone exactly what was going on. That the way you do this, when you're bad faith, the way you do is you say... You change the subject, right? So you forget about the actual on-the-ground behavior and you say, is it possible that there is a device that if pulled, an alarm if pulled, could unlock a door? I said, sure, that's possible. I'm sure those devices exist. Therefore Bowman clearly was more likely trying to leave the door, unlock the door. It's nonsensical. It would be the same as me saying, someone who clearly is, walking with a cane, and gets mugged, and fights, swings. He's getting beat by 5 people, and he swings a cane and kills someone, right? And I say, is it possible that there is a cane that is a lethal weapon that has like a firearm in it? Yeah, I guess that's possible. Okay, then this guy committed murder. You would say, what? No, just because that device hypothetically exists, it doesn't mean in this case. Anyways, I don't have to rehash that argument. One of the funniest situations ever, I let it go. Like, I was willing to just be like, let it stand on its own. The initial conversation we had about Bowman. Pisco then brings it up literally the day before the video gets released. And he gaslights his audience into saying, oh, Rob said that a device, the fire alarm unlocking a door, that device doesn't exist. I never said that. I said repeatedly that I believed it existed. In fact, in this specific incident, I said there's a 20% chance that could be the case. I also said that no one thinks like that. You don't come to a door, see that it's locked, and say, I'll pull that alarm to unlock the door. Not just because the stupidity of triggering an alarm just to get out a door, but your brain wouldn't work like that. It never has. And in fact, until that, now you might say, well, now that this situation occurred, maybe that is something across your head. But before this situation, no one was thinking that, unless you literally like worked on fire alarms or something like that. Jesus, phone. What was that about? Anyways, so he re-brings it up. Of course, he lies about what I said. He gets made a fool of again. Then the video comes out the next day, which blatantly shows that Bowman didn't even try to go out the door. And instead of admitting, yeah, I was wrong, he says, but Rob said that fire alarms couldn't unlock doors, which I didn't say. Then he keeps going on about it. Then when forced to admit, he goes, okay, you didn't say that. So in other words, he just lied to his audience the whole time. But you said there was a 0% chance. Right, like Pisco said. I asked him, I said, how many times have you come to a locked door and then tried to pull a fire alarm to unlock it? 0. I said, right. So that's how a normal person would act. You wouldn't think that. That's what I'm saying. So even though technically that device could exist, that's not how a normal person would think. So it's not a contradiction. And then Pisco changed his answer and said, oh, actually, it's 5%. When I asked him how many times he's came to a door, he thought that I meant regular doors, not security doors. And he assumed that when I said door, I wasn't including security door because as a non-security expert, he assumes that all security doors ever are unlocked. Because once you start this lie to defend being a hack, to defend your, you just have to keep digging to sound more and more ridiculous. And that's exactly what he's doing. So he's not having a good day because I'm pointing out over and over again on Twitter just how bad faith he is on this. So he has to try to deflect. So he thinks he's got a good gotcha. Now, again, the reason this matters is, as I talked about yesterday, one, this is the exact law, the obstructing of official proceedings, that is used to call January 6th an insurrection. We literally see them today going after with like armored vehicles and stuff like that. More peaceful January 6th protesters. Still going. 3 years on, they're still, it's all full bore, man. It's still the seminal issue that's used to make sure that you can't criticize election results, to make sure that we treat opposition like terrorists, to be able to have things like censorship that's occurring on social media. It's still the primary vehicle for that. January 6th was an insurrection. Still. Why are all the guys that think like me fat, bearded losers? Well, I'll be doing a Spaces with John Burk today, who's a Marine who is neither fat nor bearded. If I'm a loser, yeah, maybe I am a loser. Would you like to call in and talk about it? You clearly sound like someone who's intelligent. Here's the thing, even being a fat bearded loser, I'm still better than you in almost everything. I'm certainly smarter than you, and I'd certainly be able to out-argue you, not just because I'm smarter and a better debater, but also because I happen to be right. But would you like to call in? Man? Wonder how you got that name. A lot of ankle grabbing there for Man, huh? Calling in? I bet he can't. I would, but here I go. Go where? Calling in? I would call in, but being a man, I'm actually servicing some gentleman right now. Because because the reason, Gizmo, is because it's something that they do because they know that I'm right and they're unable to keep up with it. So they just come in with stupid ass insults and stuff like that. See ya, man. Thanks, Ninja. So anyways, if I'm arguing with Pisco or someone like that with something about Burisma, what do you think the chances are they're telling the truth? What do you think the chances are that there will ever be any level at this point, he's so far dug in. We can have a video of Joe Biden shaking hands with Zlochevsky and Zlochevsky going, "Here's your bribe money." And Biden being like, "Thank you very much. I'll get this prosecutor fired for you now, and I'll put this money in my bank account." And Pisco be like, "No, wait a minute. Wait. No. How do I know that? Because we have video of Bowman not even attempting to exit the door, and Pisco says, well. So what's the sense of talking to him about this stuff? Now, no one can accuse me of running from Pisco. I've literally, on that Burisma topic alone, probably talked to him for 30 hours. The question is, why would I want to going forward? Yeah, furthermore, that's what I started off talking about. I don't support that. I really don't. So, Pisco has a bombshell. And I think this is funny. Like, to me, it's absolutely hilarious how these sort of things work, right? I will give the left credit for this. They are completely in sync in that they don't give a shit about evidence. As always, all they need to do is wait for one person to say something on anything. A situation occurs, they don't know how to defend it. They just stay silent, stay silent, stay silent, stay silent. And then one person could say anything. Well, Bowman was trying to unlock the door, and they're all like, yep, that's it. These right-wingers are so stupid. Obviously, Bowman was trying. It's a bombshell. Bowman was trying to unlock the door. There we go. And so here's what Pisco did with the whole... It's 360 likes right now, which I'll give him credit. Hats off to him. The whole Burisma stuff. Here's what we know about Burisma, right? Hunter Biden worked at Burisma. He's told through emails to contact people, his connections in the United States, to get the cases against Burisma dropped. We're told that he was told on one particular evening, call Washington, which would be his dad, to deal with these investigations. He did call his dad. 3 days later, his dad's on a plane insisting on the firing, issuing a quid pro quo to fire this prosecutor Shokin that's tasked with looking into Burisma. Shokin gets fired. New guy gets appointed. New guy promptly drops the case into Burisma. Burisma's leader, Zlochevsky, that's still employing Hunter Biden, celebrates, comes back to Ukraine, continues to work for years. Now we're finding more and more evidence that money that was coming from Hunter Biden and James Biden's dealings ended up getting towards Joe Biden. Now, I argued with someone a couple months ago I forget, maybe it was In Pursuit of Knowledge was the name of the person, and he called in like a big man, was like, how can we hold you accountable for your claims? Because the claim I made was, mark my words, inevitably what we'll see is money coming from Hunter Biden and these Bidens to Joe Biden. We'll see large sums of money going to them. That we're going to find that. And when we do, the left will go, that doesn't prove anything. That could just be them giving them money for something else. I said that could happen by 2026. It literally happened a month later. But this guy said, how can we hold you accountable? I want to bet on it. I think betting on things like that's against terms of service, and I don't make bets like that anyways. Nonetheless, that's exactly what happened. And as predicted, if you follow Pisco and the rest of them, they say, what's that prove? What's that prove that Chinese company pays, $400,000 to the Hunter and James Biden, and then 10% goes to the big guy? But on the check for the 10%, it says for a loan. Okay, that's easy. Then surely we'll be able to see the IRS filings, the paperwork that shows that Joe Biden lent this money to James Biden, right? Well, the Bidens are saying, no, we refuse to provide that paperwork. But to Pisco, he's like, nothing to see here. That's totally normal. Just so happened they paid as soon as they got the money. It was clearly an innocent loan, and just as I told you it would happen. I have a knack for knowing exactly how these people are going to gaslight and lie. Thanks, Chris. You watched that? Yeah. So that's the story in a nutshell. Pisco's big bombshell is he cites a letter from Grassley, like October 20th or something like that. And Grassley's letter is asking for more information from Chris Wray and the FBI. And basically, I'm not going to read through the whole Grassley letter, though I'll link it. Basically, what Grassley's saying is, like, there are these whistleblowers from the FBI office in Pittsburgh. So what happened was there was an investigation into Hunter Biden that was going on. Bill Barr even mentioned this. He sends it to this office in Pittsburgh. So the office in Pittsburgh's trying to do all this research, and they're intentionally being stonewalled by other FBI offices, including the one in Delaware, that's ran by people that are close to Biden, like Leslie Wolf and Brian Otten and people like this. And so they say it's unprecedented, the lack of cooperation these whistleblowers in the Pittsburgh office are saying, because they're trying to look in. So, for example, the Delaware office wouldn't tell them the existence of any evidence whatsoever unless the Pittsburgh office specifically said, do you have the FD 1023 from March 2019? Do you have that? If they just said, can you give us all FD 1023s you have on Biden, they weren't getting cooperation with things like that. I don't know if that's the specific, but you see what I'm saying. And basically they're like, normally the way this works is they just hand us all the information and then we look through it and we cooperate. We're on the same team. But this time it was completely opposite. And anytime we asked for something, we had delays that they said we got to run it up the chain and it would take weeks. And they weren't allowed to have a grand jury, so they didn't have subpoena power and stuff like this. So they didn't know about the existence of much of the material on the laptop that was evidence that was worth looking into, Hunter Biden. So we have these whistleblowers saying that. And so Chuck Grassley writes this letter and is like, look, we're talking to more of these whistleblowers. Now we want more information, you know? And just like with the interview of Devin Archer, which was damning for the Bidens, which literally showed that Zlochevsky said, basically call your dad. And Hunter Biden said, okay. And then they got what they wanted. When that happened, what happened? People like Pisco and Sitch, they were like, this is proof for us. What? Same thing here. So we have credible whistleblowers working within the FBI that are saying they intentionally sabotaged our investigation into Hunter Biden and financials as to whether he was getting money and if he was giving money to his dad. They intentionally sabotaged us. And Pisco goes, see? That's proof that there's nothing to this Burisma scandal. And tons of people are like, yeah. Yep, great job, Pisco. You nailed it. Let's see what he says. See, here's a good tip. If you're a lefty and you're gaslighting to your audience, the first thing you say is bombshell. Well, that's proof enough. You said bombshell, so whoo. Bombshell from Chuck Grassley. Obama Department of Justice opened a bribery investigation into Zlochevsky in 2016. What's the story now, Rob? I thought Obama administration was trying to stop criminal investigations into Burisma. So let's read the party highlights from Grassley's letter. It says, Chairman Comer and I ultimately made public on July 25th, 2023. Specifically, I requested an array of records relating to the Biden family 1023. You'll remember that 1023 was a confidential human source for the FBI that was trusted, saying that Zlochevsky himself said that he personally paid Hunter and Joe Biden, what was it, millions of dollars, $5 million apiece, in order to get Viktor Shokin fired. Grassley continues, while all three recipients of my letter have failed to provide the requested information, none have disputed the allegations I presented to them. Although investigative activity was scuttled by the FBI in 2020, the origins of additional activity relate to years earlier. For example, in December 2019, the FBI Washington field office closed a 205B kleptocracy case into Zlochevsky, owner of Burisma, which was opened in January 2016 by a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act FBI squad based out of Washington's field office. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act squad, including agents from the FBI headquarters. In February 2020, a meeting took place between the FBI Pittsburgh field office with FBI HQ elements. This meeting involved discussion about investigative matters relating to the Hunter Biden investigation and related inquiries, which most likely would have been included in the case against Zlochevsky. Then in March 2020, at the request of the Justice Department, a Guardian assessment was opened out of the Pittsburgh field office to analyze information. Now, what Pisco's saying is, but Rob, if Joe Biden was working with Zlochevsky to get Viktor Shokin fired because he wanted investigations into them closed, how do you explain that in January 2016, the FBI opened an investigation into Zlochevsky? Well, here's how I explain it. The opening of an investigation proves diddly squat. There are several reasons that this doesn't dispute my central claims whatsoever, and in fact, buttresses my claims. First, I'm not claiming that Joe Biden personally had control over every agency in the United States. Even within the agencies that were reporting to him, like the State Department, there were people within it that thought Zlochevsky was a criminal and talked about it, such as George Kent. So, of course, he doesn't have direct control over everyone. What he did have direct control over was the financing that went to Ukraine and the impetus to, quote, end corruption through that financing. So what he did have control over was that $1 billion loan guarantee, which he promptly used to fire Viktor Shokin, which promptly brought in the next prosecutor, Litsenko, who promptly closed the investigation into Burisma, allowing them to come back to Ukraine and to resume their work, including employing Hunter Biden. paying him $88,000 a month. That is beyond dispute. The argument that Pisco seems to be making here is, well, if I believe that, then clearly Joe Biden also had to have control over every single FBI office. And so if a FBI office opened an investigation, clearly that must mean that it's impossible that Joe Biden could have came through with a potential promise to Zlochevsky to fire a prosecutor. It is nonsensical. It would be the equivalent of saying, well, the Pittsburgh field office is investigating Hunter Biden, so claims that the Delaware office didn't cooperate or didn't really investigate don't matter because, see, there's an investigation at the Pittsburgh office. The very document itself proves that there is discrepancy between offices even in the FBI. So the idea... Second, what could have happened? Could it be that there was a declaration from the Obama team to go easy on Zlochevsky, but there were agents within the FBI field office that didn't get the memo and decided Zlochevsky's clearly corrupt and we're going to look into it? Yes, that's possible. You might say, but why would Obama allow it to open? Well, maybe he wasn't personally looking into it. And maybe Obama didn't even personally know exactly what was going on in the Ukraine situation since he tagged his point man Joe Biden to do it. And yes, Obama would have to sign off on the $1 billion loan guarantee and not sending the money, the quid pro quo. Of course, he would have to sign off on that. But that doesn't mean that he was aware of the relevant situation. Most importantly, where did this investigation go? According to Pisco, and according to people at the State Department, and according to the people in Europe, at the UK, and according to people at the IMF, Zlochevsky's guilty as sin. Absolutely guilty. And the problem was that the Ukrainians weren't doing investigations. That was the problem. Okay, now the FBI is doing it. So where's the results? They closed it down in 2019. From 2016 to 2019, they're investigating Zlochevsky. Where's the results? Anyone? Well, if it was a credible investigation and we know the guy's guilty, surely in 3 years the FBI would have some sort of results, but nothing. If it's a serious, credible investigation that, oh boy, Zlochevsky's going to be really worried about the FBI doing this investigation. I don't think he's banned. I don't know. Where are the results? And then, of course, the best question of all is, why is the field office that opened this investigation refusing to cooperate with the Pittsburgh field office and sharing what they found? Yeah, I'll drop Grassley's letter. So they're investigating, and part of the things they find is allegations from credible confidential human sources at the FBI that, because allegedly what they're investigating is Zlochevsky paying bribes to people. Okay? So one of the informants says, yeah, he paid a bribe to Joe Biden. And they're like, oh, okay, we're not going to do anything about that. We're going to cover it up. We're going to cover it up. And then years later, when the Pittsburgh field office is like, hey, do you got any information on this? They're like, no, we don't have anything. Where's the grand juries? Where's the subpoena? And I said this, again, Pisco says this is a bombshell. Pisco's argument the entire time is, Rob says there should be investigations into this, but there have been 3 investigations. To which my claim was, cool, was there a grand jury? Did they subpoena Joe Biden's bank records? Did they interview Joe Biden? Did they interview Hunter Biden? No, they didn't do any of that. So what did the investigation entail? Did they talk to Viktor Shokin? No. Did they talk to former President Poroshenko? No. Did they talk to other whistleblowers in the Ukraine that said no? So what was the investigation? Well, they talked to people in Biden's State Department, the Obama Biden State Department, and they said nothing to see here. That's it. That was the investigation. So what's the bombshell here? And again, what he's trying to say that's different is, Rob's saying that Biden was purposely trying to bury the investigation into Burisma, but the FBI opened an investigation. And here's a possibility. It's all but proven at this point that the president of the Ukraine Poroshenko was paid a bribe by Zlochevsky in January of 2016. What was alleged, even by people like Pisco, say this is actually an incredible possibility because anti-corruption activists in Ukraine have said this. What would happen would be that Poroshenko would direct his prosecutors to investigate wealthy businessmen, and then when they would find proof of their wrongdoing, would hold it over their head. And Poroshenko would be like, looks like we're going to find you guilty of this, unless... And then he would solicit bribes from them. In other words, what you want to do is find information, but then not pull the trigger on it because you use it as leverage. Well, maybe if Joe Biden was getting a bribe, they absolutely would want to investigate further and see what proof was out there of corruption of Zlochevsky, because they wanted to make sure that he never came public and said, oh, okay, here's what happened. I paid Joe Biden this money. Or maybe that wasn't the intent of the FBI, but once they found out that there were allegations that Joe Biden was getting money, all of a sudden, we're not going to run that lead down any further. And when other field offices ask about it, we're going to be like, nope, we're digging our heels as much as possible to make sure you can't look into it. And again, the question becomes, if Zlochevsky was, we know that he was given, we absolutely know it. We actually have audio proof of this guy, what's his name? Onishenko, who was associates with Zlochevsky, wearing a wire, talking to President Poroshenko about giving him a bribe. We have audio of it. So where'd the FBI investigation go? They couldn't figure it out? Everyone else in the world heard the audio, but not the FBI. They couldn't figure it out. Congratulations. They started an investigation into Zlochevsky and did nothing, and then buried information that implicated Democrats. That's it. That's Pisco's bombshell. Of course, he takes that one line, says, there was an investigation in 2016. That's it. Again, this isn't any different than the argument he's been making. Technically, there were Republicans did an investigation as well, and it found no wrongdoing. So therefore, end of it. It's just the same old tired argument. And the irony is, the very document that he's citing to prove this talks about how they're stonewalling investigations, how these were investigations in name only, and they refused to cooperate with people outside the field office that were also tasked with investigating it. But Pisco crushed me because he used the word bombshell. Look at that, 360 likes. Well, that's awkward, says the pondering. Evidence matters. Grassley's co-conspirators. Pisco's made Rob look like a fool. $360 people like. He said bombshell. Wow, that's it. Yeah, that's right, Tainted Holy. And then simultaneously, now they're all out there. James Comer has shell companies. Great, arrest him. Don't care. And back to the president. So, now, will I be debating Pisco on this topic? Absolutely, I could crush Pisco on this topic, as I've crushed him every single time we've done a Burisma debate. And I could crush him on this. But I will not. Why? Because he still believes Jamaal Bowman pulled a fire alarm to unlock a door and go out it, despite the fact that we have video evidence to the contrary. That's why. What's the point? What am I going to do? I could crush him in this debate. Do you think that's going to change his mind or his audience mind? Do you think? Is there a possibility of ever crushing someone more with evidence than that Jamaal Bowman tape? I'm a pretty gifted debater. Is there anything I could say with words or presenting document evidence that's more clear than that Jamaal Bowman tape? So what's the point? If you're talking to someone and they're eating a cheeseburger and you say, yeah, it looks like a good cheeseburger, and they say, that's not a cheeseburger, I'm actually eating a submarine. Oh, that's funny because there's submarine sandwiches. I'm actually eating a tank. This is a metal tank. And you see him putting ketchup on, you're like, dude, what are you talking about? Are you joking? That's a cheeseburger. No, it's not a cheeseburger. It's a tank. It's an Abrams tank. And you're like, what? Yeah, this is an Abrams tank. And you're like, clearly you're joking. No, I'm dead serious. How dare you accuse this of being a cheeseburger? Fuck you. And you're just like, what? And then they go, anyways, you want to have a discussion on, who we should vote for? Want to have a discussion on, who was right in World War II? What do you think the utility of that discussion is? If someone is blatantly ignoring obvious reality, the utility of a discussion with them becomes nonsensical. That's it. There's no longer utility in the discussion. He is so partisan and such a bad faith hack that he can't admit it. Jamaal Bowman could come out. He could literally come out and say, okay, I lied. I was trying to delay. Pisco wouldn't give a fuck. He wouldn't care. He'd find a reason. Well, okay, but still, it's not obstructing an official proceeding. And, he already took this deal, so there's nothing we could do, but... and I was still right that fire alarms can open doors. That's the important thing. I was right that hypothetically a fire alarm can't open a door. That's exactly what he would say. So what's the point? All right, let's finish up here because I do got to get down there. I will be doing a Spaces here at 11 a.m. It will be mobile only, so it's only going to be on Twitter. You'll be able to find it through John Burk's Twitter account, which I'll link his Twitter account, and I'll link mine. My Twitter account, which I hope you're following me on Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Even Banana Slice, who thinks I yell at people too much, so you can see it. But, and then John Burk. And I'll need help today because I'm going to be driving with work. That's what I'm going to be doing. So, anyone who could join that Spaces, we're going to be talking about the subpoenas of the Bidens. That's going to be the topic. So, all right. Thank you all so much. I'm going to head out and go get ready. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will talk to you probably Monday will be my next stream, that regular stream. So 11 a.m. Eastern, go to my Twitter, go to John Burk's Twitter. You can join that Spaces, have your voice heard, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. As always, have a good one.